guys. Good morning, everybody. So, another day, another article of madness. What are we looking at today? Sorry, Farmer Tube, you won't be able to see any of this. Well, I mean, I could do that. Yeah, that's where it's all going on. So, what does the article say today? Oh, well, let me start recording. Have I started recording? I don't think I've started recording. What can we call this recording? Climate change. Let's call it climate change, yeah? Climate change is a disease, by the way. I don't know if you realise this, but... so, what's going on in the world today? Well, for the people that are sitting there on Pharmaceutical Tube, I better read out the article. I'm looking at a newspaper. It's called The Independent. It's one of the biggest newspapers around. I think it's owned by a Russian guy, Lebedev, I think. Not sure why, but I think he's the owner of The Independent. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, the headline is, and bear with me, Canadian becomes world's first patient to be diagnosed as suffering from climate change. Let's read further. What is this story about? Climate change, a disease? Okay. The diagnosis led to other doctors launching an initiative called Doctors and Nurses for Planetary Health. Yeah, okay, so I don't know if people realise this out there, but I better tell people out there in the land of Pharmaceutical Tube, because you might not know, guys, there's a new disease out there. A new disease, a new virus, yeah? And don't you dare think that it's not real. But there's a new disease out there, and it's called climate change, okay? Climate change. Now, you probably think I'm lying. I'm not. I'm just reading from this very well-read newspaper. The Independent is an extremely big newspaper, just like the Daily Mail is. And this newspaper says, let me just read aloud, a Canadian facing breathing issues, so he has difficulty breathing, was diagnosed, by a doctor. He was diagnosed as possibly the first patient in the world suffering from climate change. As doctors said, heat waves and poor air quality were responsible for his condition. So there you have it, guys. Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but climate change is a disease. Yeah, climate change is a disease. Much like other new diseases have suddenly appeared, they've suddenly sprouted up in the last couple of years. Well, climate change, you've probably thought it was some kind of, I don't know, some kind of global problem where we're trying to keep the planet green and healthy, but you're wrong. You're wrong. It's actually a disease. It's a disease, Ryan. Did you know it was a disease, Ryan? I didn't know it was a disease, but now I've been told, now I'm better informed. Climate change, it's not about the changing climate of the planet. It's a disease. It's a virus. So let's have a look. Let's read further. If we're not looking at the underlying cause and we're just treating the symptoms, we're just going to keep falling further and further behind, the emergency room doctor told the Glacier media. It's me just trying to process what I'm seeing. In June, Canada suffered from a historic heat wave followed by a thick smog season triggered by wildfires. Okay. Let's keep going. British Columbia, the westernmost province of Canada, saw record-breaking temperatures in June, which experts believe led to the death of over 500 people. Okay, so very, very warm temperatures apparently led to the death of over 500 people. The wildfires caused the air quality to become 43 times worse than levels acceptable as safe throughout July and August. Within the emergency department, we look after everybody, from the most privileged to the most vulnerable, from cradle to the grave. We see everybody, and it's hard to see people, especially the most vulnerable in our society, being affected. It's frustrating. Okay, yeah, so this is weird, isn't it? This is weird. I mean, weird. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks it's weird. Perhaps everybody else thinks it's perfectly normal to diagnose. Yeah, when a doctor diagnoses you as suffering from climate change, apparently that's perfectly normal, okay? It's perfectly normal in this wonderful new normal that we live in. In this wonderful new normal, anybody can catch climate change. Anybody, yeah? And as soon as you catch this terrible disease, you need to go and see your doctor, and he will diagnose you as suffering from this terrible disease, climate change, and then he'll maybe make some suggestions about how you can deal with this terrible disease. Okay, Yelena, if you're planning to move to Canada, well, I think that you'll need a lot of luck on your side at the moment, because I don't think it's very easy to go anywhere at the moment, especially if you're not medically pure. You might have to, you could possibly go to a doctor and try and buy some kind of fake certificate, because I know plenty of people that are doing that, because the world has moved back to the Soviet Union, when people did that kind of thing all the time. You paid for a doctor's note if you needed one, and now we see people doing exactly the same. I imagine in the future you'll be able to get a doctor to write climate change on your fake medical history, and then you'll be able to, I don't know, maybe fly. I'm not sure. It's a weird and wonderful world that we're entering, isn't it, guys? Let me read a little bit further. The patient, who was in her 70s, this is the patient who was diagnosed with climate change, was diagnosed in the summer soon after the heat wave, and Dr. Merritt says directly contributed, sorry about the bad English, I can't understand it either, to making her ailment worse. She has diabetes. Okay, that's something that I'm very, very aware of what it is and what it does, because my dad had diabetes for a very long time as well, and I had to watch him have injections of insulin, or give himself injections of insulin very often. So she has some heart failure. She lives in a trailer with no air conditioning, so she lives in perhaps a place which is not particularly comfortable. He said, all of her health problems have all been worsened. Sorry about the English. And she's really struggling to stay hydrated. The diagnosis from Dr. Merritt has led to other doctors in the province launching an initiative called Doctors and Nurses for Planetary Health. Healthcare professionals are using the group to advocate for better health by protecting the environment. Okay, yeah, so we've got to protect the environment to make sure we don't get sick. We are deeply concerned about the climate crisis and its impact on health, okay? Now, I don't know about you, but I'm getting the impression that health is being, our conditions are clearly, according to this article, they depend on the environment, yeah? And so they depend on, no doubt, according to this newspaper, how much CO2 we produce. And the less CO2 we produce, the healthier we are. I suppose that's the idea, the strange idea that's being put across in this article. The extreme weather in Canada is one in a series of problems the world faced due to climate change, blah, 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 blah. World leaders at the COP26 summit in Glasgow. That's the one which they all go to on private jets and helicopters, guys, if you're wondering. I mean, you'd think, because they're producing so much CO2, you'd think they'd all be dying from climate change, wouldn't you? I mean, Jeff Bezos and Boris Johnson and all the great and the good from around the world. I mean, they do produce a lot of carbon dioxide. You'd think they'd all be dying from this terrible condition, this terrible virus called climate change. Yeah. Anyway, that's something that I've read about today, guys. I've read about that odd story there. Now, perhaps we'll do something a little different. Perhaps we'll do an English lesson now. Everybody on PharmaTube, I'm afraid the English lesson goes on Telegram, my Telegram channel. You can find my Telegram channel very easily. It's the link under every single video I have ever made for PharmaTube. And so I'm afraid you're going to be turned off now, YouTube. And it's not that, PharmaTube. And it's not that I dislike you personally. It's that I dislike the pharmaceutical platform that at the moment, as far as I'm concerned, is responsible for the poisoning of a lot of different people. And so if you want to come and join this English lesson that's going to involve my students describing pictures, then you're going to have to get off of PharmaTube and preferably never go back there, because as far as I'm concerned, and what they represent is exactly the same as what the Nazis represented many, many years ago, who also had a health pass, by the way, if you're wondering. They also made people carry this health pass, which has come back. Yeah, those lucky Germans have got it one more time, lucky Germans. Okay, anyway, if you want to join this class, then you come to Telegram. See you later, YouTube. Stay there. See you later, Pharmaceutical Tube. Stay there, Telegram. Okay, so guys, what we're going to be doing now